Hi everyone, my name is Bronwyn and I work in the Tasmania engagement team at the University of Tasmania. Thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar all about postgraduate dementia studies, which will be presented mostly by our lovely academics from the Wicking Dementia Research and Education Centre. Before we get into the webinar content though, I just wanted to take a quick moment to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land across all of the places that you're joining us from today. But here for us at the University of Tasmania, that's the Palawa Pakana people. And respecting Indigenous knowledge and perspectives is something that this university is really committed to and something that you'll see throughout your time studying with us. What we're going to be talking about today is why you should undertake postgraduate study in dementia, what your course options are, what your study will actually look like, and then we'll talk a little about the partner scholarships that we have available and the whole process for how to apply, and then we'll have time at the end to answer any of your questions. Speaking of your questions, if you have any, I encourage you to pop them into the Q&A, which you'll see down at the bottom of your screens. There's a little Q&A button. If you pop questions in there as you go, we'll either be able to answer them at the end or we have some lovely people behind the scenes who can answer as we go. So don't hold on to them all to the end because we don't want to run out of time. So anything you'd like to know as it comes up, please pop it in. But now it's time for me to introduce you to Kathleen Doherty, who is the course coordinator for our postgraduate programs in dementia, who will be talking you through all of the amazing courses offered by Wicking. So thank you so much for joining us today, Kathleen.
Thank you, Bronwyn. Thank you all so much, and thank you for your interest in postgraduate dementia studies. Here at the Wicking Centre, we've got a whole range of programs focused specifically on dementia. And the reason we have those programs is because dementia is an enormous global health challenge. Currently, more than 55 million people have dementia worldwide, many of whom live in low and middle income countries. But every year there are more and more cases. And as you know, we are an ageing population, and progressively over time, the number of people living with dementia will increase. So we see the postgraduate dementia programs as a real opportunity to become agents of change as we face the challenge of how dementia will impact our communities, individuals, and societies over time. We really need people within the workforce at all levels and in all sectors who really understand dementia from a number of different perspectives. And that's going from neurobiology to policy, practice, and things like systems and processes and how they work so that we can effect meaningful change and plan for a future where people living with dementia will have a more positive experience. We want to really build stronger communities. And we also want to be able to respond to the National Dementia Action Plan. A new Dementia Action Plan is coming out in the very near future. And we know that this plan will apply to government, health and aged care providers, people living with dementia, their carers, their families, but the broader community and research. So it will really apply to all of us. And if you're currently working in healthcare or community care or any aspect of care, then becoming well attuned with the impact of dementia will set you in good stead to really create services, policies, and communities that can serve the needs of people living with dementia in the future. Just to give you a little bit of context, we've had a number of fabulous graduates of the Masters of Dementia program, and they come from all walks of life. Some of them are coming from initially beginning as personal care workers who've moved through the Bachelor of Dementia Care program and then moved on to the Master of Dementia. One of those is Diane Cross, a recent graduate. And many people enter through completing the Understanding Dementia massive open online course, which some of you might be familiar with. The Wicking Centre has been producing that course for the last 10 years. And this is a great opportunity to learn generically more about dementia. It's a free course that anyone can do. Diane then moved into the Diploma of Dementia Care. successfully completed a diploma, moved to the associate's degree, and then the Bachelor of Dementia. She was delighted to graduate this year with her Master of Dementia. She's a professional working with dementia services, and her response is that she applies the knowledge that she has gained over these courses every day in the work that she does to provide care and support for people living with dementia. And she also reiterated to us that this really has been a passion for her, that she's been able to ignite with taking on not just undergraduate education, but postgraduate education as well. Oops. Sorry, I've got a slow response to the slides. I apologise for that. So the Wicking Centre, if you're not already familiar with us, is a multidisciplinary centre. We do education and research in dementia with our aim to ultimately improve the lives of people living with dementia, but also to actually accelerate the rate at which we understand more about the risk factors for dementia and what we can do in order to reduce our risk. So, we want to better understand the brain diseases that cause progressive decline in memory, problem solving skills, function, and social behaviour, all those cognitive skills that are associated with dementia. We want to provide better and develop evidence based approaches to improve the lives of people living with dementia and their carers. We want to determine how to reduce risk of dementia by building resilience throughout ageing. And ultimately, we want to leverage our research and provide educational programs that build that knowledge and understanding of dementia within the broader community. So, if you're thinking about postgraduate study, we have three different nested programs that you might wish to consider. We have the graduate certificate, which is 4 units. The minimum length of time is 6 months or 1 semester, but up to 2 years. And through the graduate certificate, you can develop a cross disciplinary understanding of dementia and its impact across individuals, societies, and governments across our 4 themes. And I'll speak about those 4 themes in just a moment. You can progress onto a graduate diploma, which is 8 units. You can build on that existing knowledge obtained through the first 4 units, but also we offer you a research unit through which you can develop your research and critical skills and delve deeper into the 4 themes. Or you can complete a Master of Dementia, which will take you a minimum of 1.5 years, and that is 11 units in total, where you complete a major project, and that really accelerates your understanding of research and helps you build skills in a particular area that you're particularly interested in, and allows you to explore 2 of the key areas at an advanced level. The entry requirements are that you would come in with a bachelor's degree in a health discipline, social work or psychology, and that could be any health discipline, really could set you up very well to enter the postgraduate program. Or you might have a bachelor's degree in another field. And if that's the case, we would like to see that you had full-time relevant work experience that would set you up well to begin your studies, or you had successfully completed 4 units from the Diploma of Dementia Care, which is our undergraduate program. So as I just said, we've got 4 core units in the grad certificate, 1 core unit and 3 choice units in the grad diploma, and 1 core unit and 2 choice units in the masters. So let's have a look at what those core areas are. The 4 key themes are intended to give you a really broad understanding of dementia from multiple perspectives. The first is one that many people are much more familiar with, which is health and social care in dementia. And through that series of units, you can explore approaches to supporting people living with dementia to maintain healthy lives using a human rights-based approach. And any of you who are familiar with the new changes to legislation know that the Aged Care Act now is going to have a very strong human rights-based perspective. So it really gives you a sound understanding of the broader aspects of health and social care. You may choose to look more deeply into the neurobiology of dementia, You'll gain a deep understanding of the diseases that cause dementia by examining the function, dysfunction, and pathology that occurs in the brain. So that really builds up your more scientific knowledge about how dementia occurs and how the symptoms and signs of dementia might be predicted by the changes that occur in the brain. You might focus on policies and systems in dementia. Here we're looking essentially at the systems and policies which underpin local, national, and global approaches to dementia. So, how do we actually make decisions such as those that we see in things like the changes to the Aged Care Act or the changes that might be relevant in strengthened aged care standards that are particularly relevant to dementia? And the fourth area is community and public health approaches to dementia. This is a really important area because here we're looking not only at the way people understand dementia or the way people experience living with dementia within communities, but we're also looking at public health strategies to mitigate the difficulties that people experience, but also to reduce the risk of dementia and to maximise quality of life for people living with dementia. This is all underpinned by developing your research literacy skills. So that will occur at the 600 and 700 level, where you'll gain your understanding of research as it applies to dementia. And in your final project, if you're doing the master's, you'll actually use that experience to apply and design research that is suitable to ask significant questions about dementia. So, the career outcomes from this course are very varied and diverse, and that's largely because the people that come into our course bring with them a fabulous array of different skills. I think that's absolutely one of our strengths, that we get a great cross section of people with a whole host of different experiences. And those experiences might come from providing care, either to people living with dementia or to others, either in acute care or in residential aged care or in the community care sector or in primary care. People also come who've previously held roles providing direct care in various settings. They might be policy or systems related people who are working in government or working in government agencies or designing approaches to dementia care. They might have roles in industry. They might be working in advocacy or advisory roles. They might be working for peak bodies such as Dementia Australia, or they might be working in dementia friendly communities, for example. They might be working in local government because they have an interest in improving the lives of people living with dementia within their setting. But it can also be a stepping stone towards a research higher degree because it does give you some foundational education about research and its application and can be used to help you plan a future PhD position that you may be interested in. So, our master's course provides a really global perspective on the impact of dementia on individuals and, and societies. As I've said, it's aimed primarily at graduates and professionals currently working within fields related to dementia. And that's a pretty broad scope these days because dementia impacts at almost every level in all aspects of healthcare. And certainly, we've had people, as I say, who've begun their lives as personal care workers or have even been volunteers, or their primary dementia experiences come from their own lived experience providing care for a loved one living with dementia, right through to people who hold significant roles in government agencies, in departments, or in peak bodies where they're actively working in improving the lives of people living with dementia right now. So you certainly have the opportunity to interact with a whole host of people, and certainly our cohort of students is one of our great strengths. So, for each unit and what you can expect to be doing within the course. Every unit is sort of self-contained, and they're run differently depending on the unit coordinator. But the things you can expect to see throughout these units are webinars and online interaction, discussion boards. You'll have lots of reading. You'll be thinking in a much more critical way. The most important thing to think about when you have the opportunity to do postgraduate studies is that this is really where you actually begin to develop your critical thinking skills and think carefully and knowledgeably, use evidence, and be informed about the wider evidence that's out there. So, um, as I say, the individual units are run differently depending on what they are, but you can expect to be having webinars, discussion boards, and lots of self-directed learning, largely delivered through Milo. And the assessment also varies. So the kinds of things you might see in the very early units in the course, there might be quizzes, but we often use discussion boards and your feedback to your peers, your interaction with your peers, your responses to your peers, or presentations. You might be asked to answer questions. There are assignments. There are opportunities to examine policies and practices. There are opportunities to reflect on your own experience and use that self reflection to inform your work and the work of others. So it's a very varied course with lots of challenges, but it certainly is very rich in terms of its learning opportunities for you, but also the opportunity to use what you already know, what you already bring, and build on that by really building your expertise. If you move on to a master's course, you will certainly have the opportunity to build a particular project centered around something you are particularly interested in. And in the past, for example, we've had students be able to present those projects at international conferences or to use them to springboard important new changes within their own organisations. So it really is very much applied to how you might need to apply this level of learning to things that really matter in your workforce at present as well. So, some quick questions that are often asked. How much time should I expect to spend studying? As you will know, and certainly as a postgraduate student, it's really up to you how much time you decide to commit to your learning opportunities. But we think that spending up to 10 hours per week per unit is a good way to think about how can I get the most out of what I'm doing. Um, can you compress all the unit activities into a few weeks? Look, that varies with the units. Some do not deliver all their content at the beginning, some deliver content over the course of the semester. Um, so it can be quite hard to compress all your activities into a few weeks. Assessment tasks are submitted over the course of the semester. And often we like to say that we can provide you feedback that might be useful in other assessment tasks later. So, uh, generally, it would be recommended that you would continue to work over the course of the semester, working on developing your skills as you go, and certainly contributing in lots of ways over the course of those 12 to 13 weeks in things like discussion boards. So, how many units should you enroll in? Many of our students are full-time workers as well. And 4 units together with a full-time working load is a big challenge. And I'm not saying it's impossible, and some people do manage to do it, but other people find it's actually easier to do just 1 or 2 units concurrently so they can actually work out how they can fit that in with their full-time working. So again, it's up to you, but do contact our postgraduate support group who will help you work out what might work for you. Do you need to commit it to a specific study time every week? No, you don't. The only things that we do have are webinars, which often have dedicated time, but we do always record those webinars so that we can make them available to people. We are very aware in the postgraduate courses that people have got complex lives and most are working full time. Or many are working at least part time, or they have a lot of other caring responsibilities. So, we try to make the course as flexible as it can be to meet both your needs and meet your assessment needs so you really enjoy your learning experience with us. So there are partner related scholarships aligned with the postgraduate program. So we do have partnerships that enable you to have a reduction or a discount on the fees. You can have a look on the website as indicated there to have a look at who our partners are and find more information about what that arrangement is. You will need to be eligible for a Commonwealth supported place and complete a health partner employee declaration when enrolling in your course. But certainly you can get more information again about that through our postgraduate team.
Thanks, Kathleen. I can jump back in and explain this slide here. So the
Lovely.
process from here on in is the first step is to apply. So for those of you who are joining us from other places in the country, you may be used to universities who charge an application fee. That's not the case with us at the University of Tasmania. It's free to apply. You can do so online. We have a very simple application portal that you just go through step by step and fill out all the information about your prior study history and select the courses that you're interested in. You can apply for up to 5 courses at once. And I guess the other thing to mention as well, if there's anything you're concerned about not having details on, my advice is to just pop the application in and our admissions team will get back to you and chase up anything additional that they need to. After putting in your application, usually it sort of depends on your circumstances and all of that kind of thing, but usually within a couple of weeks you'll receive an offer. You'll need to accept that back within the application portal, and about 24 hours after that, you'll be able to enroll. And you'll be sent an email with all of those details on how to do that. And there's also enrollment support sessions that you can attend as well. One other thing that I'll mention here, we had a couple questions in advance, and it's been a popular topic lately, is around credit for previous study. We do, like all other universities, offer credit for previous study, and it's really assessed on a case by case basis, depending on what qualifications you've done previously or all of those sorts of things. Before doing a credit assessment, we do require that an application is in. So what you can do is submit your application, and then you can submit your application for recognition of prior learning. And I will email you all a link after this with more information about that process. When you submit your application for recognition of prior learning, you upload all of your documentation with that. So if it's connected to study, we'd like to see unit outlines if you've got them, transcripts from all of your study. The more information, the better. It then goes over to the academic teams to assess and look and see how it matches up and if it's all at the same level. And then you'll hear back about the outcome of that. If it's something that is potentially the make or break with enrolling or pursuing the course, that you're under no obligation from the application to go ahead and continue. So if the credit process doesn't work out how you want, you can just not go ahead with the enrollment process if you don't want to. I hope that you do. I hope that your credit application is favourable, but just so you know that there's yeah, you can submit an application and there's no further obligation there. So we might jump into some questions now. I've just realised though that oh, here we go. We've had a couple been asked already and answered. So one that is a question that comes up all of the time is how much the course costs. What I can give you on the spot right now is the cost for a Commonwealth supported place. So for the graduate certificate, the 2025 fee is 5,148. And then each stage after that, so if you did the 50 credit points of the graduate certificate and then went on to do the diploma, it's a similar cost for the diploma and a similar cost for the master's. So when you add them all up, it's a bit over $15,000 for the entire thing. But as Kathleen mentioned, we do have generous partner scholarships in place if you work for an eligible provider. And so that would bring the cost down even further. So I think that answers the question about the course costs without scholarships, but it does depend. The fee would be different if you're an international student. And we also had somebody ask who is a New Zealand resident, and the fee would be different for them as well, because for a Commonwealth supported place, you must be residing in Australia. But we can get back to you on those questions. I'm just going to check if there's any further ones. We had a great question about whether or not dementia qualifications are welcomed in rural areas, and Anthony responded to that, that they certainly are, that just like all areas of healthcare, the availability of dementia care in rural areas is quite limited, so there's certainly need there. And somebody else asked a great question around info sessions and support for people who maybe haven't studied in a while and need to get their heads back around how to do an assignment, how to format everything correctly. And Anthony's let that person know that we run orientation sessions for new students, covering off how to get things started. And he's also mentioned our in-house student support and learning advisors. So you'll all have access to a student advisor, and they're really your first port of call into all of the various support services that we offer. So there's sort of too many to mention, but there's a load of support services, and your student advisor can help get you connected to all of those.
Can
Oh,
I just
someone's just, yeah, clarified. No, it's not 5,000 per unit of study. So that would be for the whole graduate certificate. So for the 4 units within. Yes. Oh, a cutoff date for applications. That's a great question. Um, Technically, we keep accepting applications right up until about the middle of February before semester 1 starts at the end of February. But my advice would be to apply as soon as you can if you know that you want to do the course. It does take, a little bit of time to get your offer, and then you need to enroll. And if you run into any problems, you don't want to be rushing to do all of that in February and potentially not be in and settled by the time all of your classes start. Oh, so I'm just seeing the follow up. Yes, no, it's definitely not 5,000 per unit, and I'm sorry for scaring you there, Heather. Um, there's a question. Anthony's been a bit too efficient answering everything. I think we might have everything covered, but Kathleen, is there anything else that you'd like to mention as these questions are still coming through?
No, I think the only thing I'd like to say is really have a think about this. It's a really unique course that we offer. It's a real opportunity to broaden your um, understanding of dementia in the broadest possible way. The testimonials and feedback we have from students are fabulous, and it's really gratifying for us to watch our students move on to bigger and better things as they move through this course and onto other either roles or functions or PhDs. So I really encourage you to give a really good thought because we're the only course that offers this kind of um, structured approach to understanding dementia from so many different perspectives, but with that, the capacity to actually focus on the areas that you enjoy best.
And just as you were explaining that, we've had one more question come through about doing the masters without doing the graduate certificate and diploma. So Kathleen, would you like to sort of recap on the way
You
the
can you
qualifications
can
stack?
enroll directly in the masters and set yourself up to do all of those 11 units that you will do across the course of completing the masters. So really, you don't have to do each step one by one. You can enroll in the masters up front to complete a full masters.
And we've had someone ask just now when they can enroll after being made a conditional offer, and it's conditional on completing the 4th unit in the diploma program. So I'm going to assume that it will be within like a couple weeks of that, just as long like it won't be like finish, upload your last assignment, and boom, you can enroll. But by the time it's sort of gone through all of the systems, and they've also said they suppose there's no credit transfer to the from diploma to postgraduate level, and no,
No,
there would
the
not be.
actual requirements are quite different from diploma to postgraduate, and that's something to remember that coming in at postgraduate level is a higher level of study, if you like, than from the undergraduate level. So we can't give credit for undergraduate units in the postgraduate course. Um, and also remember that this course is very focused on dementia as well. So it's important that we make sure that you've actually acquired those skills around the issue of dementia as well.
Okay, fantastic. Well, unless I see another question pop um, in the next second or two, I'll assume that oh, here we go. We've got one last one. I'm a retired social worker who has a strong interest in dementia. Can I take this study without being employed?
Absolutely. We have a lot of students across all walks of life and at all stages in life. Um, who do the master's program, as long as you've got undergraduate qualifications that are suitable for you to enter into the program, that's fine. And certainly, as I say, we've had a number of students who have actually been retirees who've undertaken this program with a great deal of enjoyment.
Fantastic. Well, as you will have heard when you joined the webinar, everything today is being recorded, and we will get a recording out to you along with some follow-up information I mentioned about the applying for credit process and also the instructions on how to apply. Thank you so much, Kathleen, for taking time out of your day to speak to all of these future students, and also to Anthony and Claire, who've been working away behind the scenes answering all of these questions. The conversation doesn't need to stop here. If anyone attending the webinar today would like to talk more about your options, you'll be able to get in touch with us over email. And yeah, we hope to see you all as students at the University of Tasmania in the future, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.